and gentlemen, welcome to episode 74 of PD's Awesome Guest Panel. And this is no ordinary episode. This is a brand spanking, energetic one because tonight's guest star proves that in many, many ways. Now, before we introduce tonight's guest star, I want to address a couple of things first. First, I would like to, dedicate this episode to the memory of the late, great Jay Switzer, who has made an impact on Canadian culture. So that's for you, Jay. Now, getting on to tonight's guest star. Before I introduce tonight's legendary name, let me tell you exactly who she is. This is the woman who, in 1996, starred in the major sci-fi show LEXX. This is also the same woman who, in 2004, actually co-starred along with John Heder in the popular, iconic movie Napoleon Dynamite. In addition to that, my guest star tonight is a very decorated and award-winning actress, as she has won the 2016 Action on Film Award. She's a nominee of the Gemini Award. She has won the she is also the official voice for Disneyland's 60th anniversary. And by the way, I can keep going on with these because my guest star has a lot of accolades, and one of them being the Sova's nomination for best voiceover in a radio commercial. And lastly, and most importantly, she is not only one of the most charismatic but energetic actresses I've ever laid eyes on, but also at the same token, an actress who always, and I always felt this even when I was a little kid, always had a strong voice and presence. My guest at this time is the legendary, the iconic, the charismatic Miss Ellen Dubin. Ellen, welcome today. How are you?
Woo! Now I'm breathless. Who were you just talking about? Oh, me.
You're breathless.
That's the best intro I've ever had in my life. I'm so happy we finally are able to connect. Yeah. We are not holograms. We really are real people, and we are connecting via Zoom. But thank you for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it.
You deserve it. After all those years of entertainment, you absolutely deserve it, Ms. Dubin. Now, before we lay into the LEXX and Napoleon Dynamite questions, I have a typical cliche one, if you will, and that is, how'd you get your first start into acting? Take me there.
Well, I think that's a great question because my start was I was not wanting to be an actor. A lot of my friends, they grew up dreaming, I want to be an actor when I grow up. I was a very shy child. I made up for it last time now. And I had bad posture and flat feet. So my mother and father put me into ballet classes. And there I was able to relate to other kids and, get better posture and become more confident. Flash forward, as I started to get better as a ballet dancer, they had recitals at the end of the year. And when I was on stage, Petey, I would love it. I would feel the audience and I would do an extra dying swan. If there was 10 arm movements, I would do 11. And if there was a comedy ballet, I would wait for the laugh. Like I naturally had an instinct on stage. And that's where I felt the most confident. A lot of actors are shy, believe it or not. And when I was on stage doing ballet, I felt very confident. So I started in the performing arts on stage as a dancer. And then, long story short, my ballet career ended short in a kind of a short amount of time because I grew so tall quickly. So my knees gave out and I got a lot of injuries. So took singing and different kinds of dance other than ballet and went into musical theater. Then I went to other theater. And so that's how I started. I did not want to be an actor. I wanted to be a ballet dancer at first.
Ah,
And then
interesting.
things segued from there. Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah.
Very cool. And now, of course, but when was it? Like, at what age did you realize that this was like acting is for me? This is what I got to do.
I'd say around 17.
Okay.
17, late teens. I was always a late developer. Things kind of, I started dance at 13, which is really late for ballet. It should be about, no, there's no should, actually. I would tell your audience, there's no should. Follow your dream no matter what age, which is really important because people will say, don't do this. But I did start late for the traditional ballet dancer. But I came up pretty quickly because I worked my off. I worked really hard. And that's what I wanted to do, not acting. And then it sort of segued into that because I loved audiences and I loved moving and making people laugh. That was my goal, really.
And let me just say, mission accomplished because you left me either in like as your characters, you left me either laughing or left me in fear.
Here's a good one too. Not in real life, but his characters, yeah, make people go, "Whoa," you know? Yeah.
And,
That's
and we're and we're gonna talk about one of the most intimidating figures in Lex history soon. I'm just curious to also know too, like as an actress, do you have any like rituals or methods that you do to prepare yourself for like a particular role?
oh, I love that question. Well, let's talk about Jiggerata.
Yes.
That one terrified me because I didn't understand what this was about. When we got the initial as an actor, you get an audition usually, unless you're Tom Cruise, then you get offered things. So we we get these, we get these the script, and every single character had besides, Stanley Tweedle, the male lead,
Of course.
a monologue of his about the a planet of women. And I was like, "Oh, what is this? A planet of women?" I was like, and I didn't even want to go. See, I said, "This is absurd." Well, so there was usually what I do is I'll research if the show's on the air, so I'll watch it once, but there was nothing, nothing. And I going down to the audition, I'll never forget it. It was about 15 minutes from where when I'm in Toronto, right 15 minutes from where my apartment is, and I went, I don't want to do this. And literally in the waiting room, I came up with this crazy idea that this person was like really, I'll put this delicately, s- sexually or enamored of anything she talked about, had a huge voracious appetite for, and that's how we got to the cannibal later on. And that's, when I read for the callback, I read for the cannibal. So my preparation for that was dive, no fear, take the words off the page and have a great time. Now, sometimes when you do a period piece or you have, let's say, an accent to learn, Petey, you, you know, I like to watch real people. So I'll, thank God for Google, I'll Google waitress in the Bronx and I'll listen to that accent or Russian soldier or whatever. And I get a real person to give me a rough ballpark as to how their accent sounds. So if I'm doing accents, I do a lot of research. I like to be very, and then I throw it away and just dive in and enjoy what I'm doing in a room or when I get the part. You have to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's acting, but you want to have fun at the same token too.
100%, 100%. And there's obviously, if you're doing a period piece, you want to be accurate to the period as to how, they curtsied or held their fork or, whatever the style of language was at the time or, that's really important too, to honor the period as well.
I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. And here's another question I have too about acting too. Like one thing you're absolutely amazing on is tapping in on raw emotion with any character you play. And this is where I had a question to ask you too. Like if you were in a scenario where you're rehearsing a line and you have to do a scene with a thespian or another actor or actress, and they come up to you and say, or they say, "Excuse me, Mr. Dubin," and they would say out of respect for you because you're one of the most respected actresses in the world. They say, "Excuse me, Miss Dubin. There is a scene that requires your character and my character to get into a heated argument in which your character needs to lay into me and make me cry." Now, I know it sounds very weird for me to say, but I need you to yell at me as hard as you could because I need to cry for real because I cannot fake something like that. If you were approached with this by another actor, how would you react, and what would you tell the person?
I'm a pretty open actor, and what you have to realize, it's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. The approach, because everybody has a different approach. So some actors don't like to rehearse. Some people, like what you just mentioned, like to say, listen, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's how you handle it. If somebody said to me, Ellen, I'm having trouble here, or I would prefer if you helped me this way. But if somebody's directing me and saying, Ellen, do that, I'd have had that too. Do that, do that, do that. It's very tricky. But you have to decide what battles you're going to pick, like you do in life, Petey. And most of the time, I'll just shut it off and give them what they want. I will usually there's a rehearsal for camera. Like let's say we're talking about on camera or even on stage. So let's say about on camera. So you have a camera rehearsal so they can rehearse the angles and you will get a knack in that one rehearsal or two. You don't have a lot of time in TV to find out how that other person works. And if he wants me or she wants me to lay into them, I will do that. For
Because
sure.
yeah, absolutely. Because you want to make it believable. And you want to make it feel like it's
100%.
real.
100%. I mean, this must be the audience must emotionally connect with this and go, "Whoa!" Like if they go, "Whoa," I'm scared of her, or "Oh, that poor guy," or if I have to be made to cry and I'm vulnerable, they should feel sympathy. They should feel empathy with the characters. Great question. 100%.
Thank you. And if we did a scene together, I'd be the first one to try to make you look like $1,000,000. I would actually cry. Like I will blur the lines, like just to make you look like $1,000,000. I will blur the lines between what's real and what's fiction. Real tears, fake reason. Like you can like yell
Oh,
at me, and I wouldn't be crying because you're yelling at me. I'd be crying because I'm like thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm actually doing a scene with Ellen Dubin. That's why I'm
well,
crying.
you could be crying for a different reason, but you have to give your all. And you have to be there for the other actor and you have to really listen like you're doing right now. I'm not even looking at you. I can feel you listening. Listening is so important. It's a tennis match, you know. I throw you the ball, Petey, you throw me back the ball, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what great acting is. I mean, when you watch a great scene on, it sizzles. It could be comedy, drama, whatever. It could be a mother and daughter, lovers, whatever. It's so exciting when it just combusts, it's fascinating to watch that fire.
it is. And like when I watch Lex and I watch your performance, though, and this is me as a 6-year-old watching this. I'm thinking to myself, man, the way, and of course I didn't know your name at the time, but I'm thinking this actress who plays Giga Rhoda. I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking the charisma, the style, the way they tell a story. That's awesome, and you are an amazing storyteller.
Wow. That's my job, and thank you, because if the story's told, and that was a pretty out there, wacky, wild character, as you know, but it really appealed to a lot of people. That character, which was so balls to the wall, no holds barred character, like this is an unusual part for a woman, especially what year was that? 1994, did you say?
I think it was '96.
96, 96, to say and move around like, I owned the world was fun. And that's why I love sci-fi and a show like that. Paul Donovan, who created Lex, was and is absolutely brilliant and all the double entendres. And it would appeal to children because they look at these funny costumes and these funny sets, but the adults would go, whoa, that's a real interesting comment on society or whatever. So the fact that you were so affected at such an early age is really amazing. You're ahead of your time.
And the thing though, Ellen, is I remember exactly what scene it was that made my heart like stop in fear though. Like you had that ability as an actress where like I fear you so much, like your character, that you either made my heart drop to the floor or you either made it stop in pure fear. And I remember the scene that you did that. It was when I'm trying to remember what the ladies was in the show where you shrunk her down and then you go look down her and you
Oh,
go, I can see you like
Zev,
that.
one of the Zevs, the female lead from Germany. Yeah, I can see you. I remember that episode. That was a great special effect for that time. Anyway, yeah, interesting. And that's a comedy too. My part was kind of, I called it the comedy relief, but I was still pretty scary, I would say. Fun scary, you know.
I won't lie, Miss Steuben. Like when I watched that scene, I didn't say anything, but inside when you said that, I'm as a little kid, I'm whimpering. I'm like,
I love it. I don't want to scare kids, but I love it. Funny.
oh, you were great. And I gotta ask you about the two memories of filming Lex and working, of course, with the cast members.
Oh, well, this is the greatest job in the world when you get a crazy sci-fi show that was the forerunner of so many shows and travel. I went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. I went to Potsdam, Germany, Berlin, and Thailand. So the last episode, Apocalypse Now, where I play the Pope. Remember, Jiggerada
Yes,
becomes the
Pope
Pope.
Jiggerod. Yep.
Yes, we shot that in Thailand. We went to Bangkok and Kanchanaburi, which is in the northern part of Thailand. It was probably the best job I've ever had. To work and meet a whole bunch of people who were the most incredible food, generous, beautiful, gentle people. The crew was great, and I'm still friends. I'm still friends with Brian Downey, who plays Stanley. I'm very good friends with um,
Zena? Zenia?
Xenia Seberg. We keep in touch a lot. Actually, we're hoping maybe we'll do a LEXX convention in November in New York. And Michael is a little bit more eclectic, but I did see him in 2018 when we did a big LEXX reunion at one of the Comic Cons in New York, and we were so thrilled. So many people showed up. So it's part of my life. It's an integral part of my life as an actress because it put me on the map in a world that I didn't care about. I didn't know about sci-fi. I had no interest in sci-fi. I didn't even watch Star Trek or Star Wars until later on in life. And of course, now I've seen everything. So I am forever grateful for that show.
Yeah, and you know what, people like, and I forgot, I should have mentioned this in the opening, but I'm so sorry I forgot. But you are actually considered a cult figure in the sci-fi community.
Correct. And it's like, oh God, like, whoa, everything about now, I bow down to you. I bow down.
We're not
We're
worthy.
not worthy. Yeah, that's exactly. We're not worthy. Yeah, no, I'm not worthy to get that title. I mean, it is so bizarre, but you know, the cult is just because there's such a big fan following, and now new people are finding. I think it's on one of the streaming services. I can't remember if it's Amazon or Hulu or Netflix, but new fans are coming, and then old fans are coming back to it. It just was before social media, Peter. It was just if Farscape had a little bit more social media, and then right after that, sci-fi was, all over. And it's a shame that we missed the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram time at that time. So it was more word of mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, and I gotta actually too for Lex. So I mean, you've appeared in many episodes though, and five particular episodes. And I want to get your favorite one too. Out of the episodes that you have appeared in, I got five of them with me. Which was your favorite? There was Patches in the Sky, Girl Town, Supernova, Stand Down, and like you mentioned before, Apocalypse Now.
Wow.
Because I love Patches in the Sky.
I was going to say for when I played Jiggerata, Patches in the Sky, because I was toying so much with Brian Downey and who's Stanley Tweedle. I had so much fun with that, and just such a cocky, fun time with that. Yeah, I think that's the best episode for my character for sure. And I have to say Apocalypse Now because it was a spoof of the famous Francis Ford Coppola movie Apocalypse
Apocalypse
Now.
Now.
And we went to Thailand and playing the first female pope in sci-fi history was really bizarre. I mean, the pope is the most revered man in the world, other than whoever you believe in upstairs. And so it was, I said, oh God, I hope I'm not, oh God, yes, I hope I'm not going to offend anybody. But what Paul did, he was making a major comment on religion and what people worship. And his religion, and this was, if you remember correctly, I worshiped golf.
Yes.
Golf, and I was hitting the president of the United States, played by Rolf Konectis, who's an amazing actor, and has gone on to some fabulous work, and we keep in touch too. And I keep in touch with Bunny too, Patricia Zantilli. I mean, it's great. And I would literally whack golf balls into their faces. It was just the most bizarre thing. But and I had my little minion men surrounding me. So those two episodes, I agree. Patches in the Sky was great.
I love Patches in the Sky because it just solidifies Gigaroda as this ultimate badass, someone that's in your face, put you in your place. You've just been disgraced, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, put the rest type villain.
100% and so in control. I literally could saunter around that set and just control everything. Didn't even have to work hard. Just everybody was at my feet by then. You're
Oh,
right.
you were absolutely amazing. Like just like how maniacal, like the character. You were just great in that episode. Like the character, how it was maniacal, like how they were like laughing so maniacally, and like and correct. I don't know if I'm right here, but there was a scene where like they turn into like this energy orb, and it looks like Gigaroda is actually trying to absorb them and eat them. What was that actually the case in the episode?
Yes, it was. I remember that. Yeah, wanting to eat them for sure in that energy field. There was like an energy force or something. I kind of vaguely remember that, or some kind of weird special effect. Oh yeah, anything I wanted to eat and control
You,
for
you
sure.
I can honestly say, Miss Dubin, that you had me like in my chair, like this, going up like this, looking with my jaw dropped and my legs shaking, because I want to know what's gonna happen next.
Wow, that the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz did that to me. So with the fact that I mean, there you go. There you
Oh, but
go.
of course, and I got to ask this too, like, and this is gonna be a nerd of me asking this
I don't
question, but
go for it.
uh, whenever I'm not like dieting or like fasting or like on a strict diet, I am a huge foodie. And this is gonna be my next question. You worked on so many production companies with amazing catering scenes, I bet. Which had the best catering scene?
Catering scenes? Wow, it's interesting. I am a foodie too. I love food, and I love trying different foods. I'm very open, and sadly, I don't think I've had a scene where I've had to eat a full-length dinner. So I'm gonna go back to Lex and talk about how I had to eat brains on that set. And people always ask me, and I don't know if you remember, I forget which episode it was where I had to eat this gelatinous material and then go, ugh, too salty. I'll never forget this and spit it out. And they tried all kinds of things, salt on sort of jello that was made looking like brains with little snaky little things. And then they put jam on and peanut butter. And then finally they put jam on again with sort of a sticky toffee. And I remember it was so sticky. This doesn't quite answer your question, but this is the only food I had in a show, if I remember correctly. It's a great question. And I literally went, ugh! And when you see me actually spit, that was a real spit because it tasted like crap. It was so sweet and salty, and I'll never forget. I heard the crew laughing, like I heard them going, 'cause as I was digesting that food. And literally, if you see that scene, you'll see me spitting a lot, which fits for her because this was not a very dainty character. Let's face it; it was no delicacy here, not a prude character. And so basically, that was food that I had to spit out like as brains. But food wise, I don't think I've ever sat down and had a meal. I've had some wine and fake wine and juice and a sandwich and a scene, but no, I need to do that. We got to do that, Petey.
We got to.
We got to make that movie.
Let's book it. Let's book it, Ellen.
Let's do it. A whole Italian buffet.
An all you can eat one, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you a really high compliment right now because this man is one of my favorite actors. But I always said you are the female version of the late great Phil Hartman, who I absolutely
Oh,
love.
thank you. Oh, you
And
know,
he's Canadian too, right?
yes, he is. That death and that situation still bothers me. He was brilliant.
He was.
He always had, even if his characters were crazy, you always felt for him. He had such heart and soul and oomph. Oh, Phil, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I always thought because of how like you're so charismatic, like Phil, and like you could play the villain character and just nail it, and you could play a comedic villain and still nail that too. It's
Yeah,
like you run the gamut, like of course, like what Phil did. I remember when he passed away. I remember I was in tears when he passed.
yeah, me too. Him and Robin Williams, that major loss
Yes.
for me. The two, and he was. I mean, Robin Williams was astounding, and Phil Hartman was really amazing too. Yeah,
I
thank you.
agree. No problem. In fact, I said you were Phil Hartman. You have the comedic style of Phil Hartman. You have the intense level of a Sigourney Weaver, and of course the action and the serious role of a Linda Hamilton, all rolled into one.
Petey, do you want to be my press agent and my agent? And
Are
I'll
you hired?
we'll talk about this after everybody. You witnesses. Wow.
No, I'm just saying like how much like you were just an amazing actress though. Like I always said Ellen Dubin's name in conjunction with the words legendary, iconic, a Hall
Wow.
of Famer. I would even say
Oh,
Hall of Famer. Like that's how like it's hard to find a rare breed like you, Miss Dubin.
I'm oh, I'm you can't see, but I'm turning red here. I blush. So there
You're
you
you're
go.
turning red. I almost turned blue in the face, given like that saying all like being like saying all the thing I said in the beginning. Like I thought I was asking, Miss Dubin, am I blue in the face?
Yeah, no. We're all white with Zoom. We're all good. Glowing light. We're glowing.
We're glowing. And of course, did you prefer acting or voice acting?
You know what? Here's an interesting misconception. It's all acting. Just because I'm standing at a microphone doesn't mean I'm just reciting words that are on the page. If I just read them on the page, I could get anybody off the street. The best voice actors are the true, real actors who can connect with their audiences. Remember, as a voice actor, which has become my greatest interest right now in the acting world. It's my passion. If you don't connect to the copy, whether it's a commercial, animation, video games, which is one of my favorite genres, or narration, the audience isn't going to care. And we have to create that world without a set, without hair and makeup, without a costume, without another actor, without a director there. Sometimes when we do auditions, we have to make it up ourselves. Then we'll have a director when we get the job. So there's no props. We have to create everything about that world, location, everything.
Yeah.
So I love it. I think it's a great challenge. Love it.
And definitely when I had Erin Fitzgerald on the show,
Oh,
she said something very similar. She said what you said, it just mirrored and paralleled what she said. She said that it's all pretty much the same thing. Acting and voice acting. It's like when I mentioned voice acting, Miss Fitzgerald said like it's all one genre. Like it's not one particular genre. It's acting and voice acting are the same thing.
the best actors, and include voice actors, are that. And when I teach video game acting, and when I say to them, I whisper to them, I say, forget about the voiceover part. Don't talk about your voice and don't worry about how you sound. Let's connect to the copy and make the audience laugh, cry, terrify them, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because if it's about your voice, it's going to be an empty caricature, even in all forms of acting. But people tend to, when they get on this microphone here, my lovely mic behind here, they have to put on a voice.
Like this microphone I have right here, right?
Oh, what do you have there? That's
This is a Yeti.
a Yeti. Yeti. Yeti.
My fiance got it for me for the holidays.
That's a nice present. I like that.
And also, like you mentioned too, like what the audience want. Like I totally agree with you because I would be the first one to tell you, Ellen, take shots at me in your character. Take shots at me. Like, listen, take shots about my height of 5'6". Say like my podcast. Say instead of saying Petey's awesome guest panel, say Petey's awful suck panel. Like you just to make it feel like real life. I will not be offended with what you say. There is nothing that would offend me.
Well, the fact that you say that in advance is good warning, but a lot of actors, you have to be careful. Like I said earlier when you asked me this question about, are you okay with that? And I'm okay with that, but it depends on the other actor. I'm always very sensitive and conscious of where they come from and where they work. Some people don't like that. So you have to do it within the words and figure out a way to get at them. Listen, the scene has to be done. We've been hired. And if it's in the scene where I have to make you or the other actor
Mhm.
break down, then I'm going to have to go at it.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
I
And hopefully the other actor will be open to it. Everybody's different. And I've been very fortunate to work with people that are, even if they work differently than me, some people, like I said, don't want to rehearse. Some people just don't want to know. They say, don't tell me what you're going to do. And other people want to know every step of the way. So you're going to walk here, you're going to move here, and you have to, if you want to work with somebody in harmony, there's a give and take. It's like any relationship.
true.
But you got to get in there quickly.
And
Sometimes, there's no time.
And like you said, Ellen, you gotta really like make sure like the person's okay with. Like, I wouldn't feel comfortable saying anything without your permission. If we did a scene together, I wouldn't feel comfortable like without saying anything and say, "Excuse me, Miss Dubin, is it okay if I say this in the script? If not, I won't say it."
Yeah, no, and I think that's you're very conscious of the other actor, the other person's feelings. And right now, there's when you're doing like a fight scene, there's always a fight choreographer. Now there's even intimacy coaches now for love scenes. And I think that people are really making sure, and everybody's very sensitive and aware that things can happen. So there's always now a conscious effort to make sure everybody's comfortable.
True. And of course, like you gotta make sure they're comfortable, and also like you want to make the audience go ooh and ah. I would tell you if you and I did a scene like we're in front of a crowd and you have to zing me, I will tell you, Ellen, say this. I don't care. I don't care if the audience go ooh and ah. It will make for good storytelling. I want you to say to me, "You better give up now, or I will drop you faster than your podcasting career." And then you would say something like, "You could drop your cute little bombs all you want, but I'm this character and I drop nukes."
I got it, and I'll tell you those so-called zingers or zinger
Yes.
bombs are the best. Now remember though, we may improvise that, but when the camera rolls, if that's not in the script, we got to say what's on that page. in the script we have to say
True.
what's in there because you can ad lib a bit to get into it, and some directors are really good. Like, and I tend to do that. Like if the first line is, come over here and sit down, and I'll say something like, "Hey, Petey, listen, what did the hell did you say that to me before?" So we do a little ad lib. So later when it's come here and sit down, and if we're supposed to be already in the middle of an argument, once we're doing this argument beforehand of ad libbing, and then we can go right into the lines of the text, it lights up. It's called
Yes.
the moment before. And like you said, you naturally said that, go at me. You actually just jumped into a huge, wonderful acting thing here because it's always the moment before that informs what's going to happen in the scene. No matter what genre of acting.
Absolutely. Like even like you as a character, like to make real life references to make it seem like it's real when it really isn't real. Like you could say, you know what, I'm in your head, Petey. And because like I've been a fan of your work, you can use that to your advantage. You say, I'm in your head, living in your head rent free. It's probably bothering you right now that there's probably a poster of me on your wall, like trying to say like I'm a fanboy, like that, like try to get into my head as a
Yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah. There's little, we all do that. I manipulate, I do this, I do that to get what you want in life, but in acting, especially, but then you don't consciously think of that or else it becomes self-conscious. And there's my word again. My favorite word in acting is dive. Once you've done your homework, you just dive. It's really interesting
It
work.
is. It totally is. And of course, I have to ask you this too, since you have done many you have done many voiceover roles in video game animation. I want to get your opinion on this question. In auto commentary for the Simpsons DVD, they mentioned how Kirk Douglas hated being in the set because wearing the headphones hurt his ears. What do you think what's your thoughts on wearing headphones? Are you a fan or not?
I don't when I'm doing auditions, I don't wear my headphones, but in some studios, if they don't communicate over there, over the airwaves, as I call it, you have no choice but to wear these headphones because people are communicating in various ways, not only on Zoom, but a source connected could be all over the world. So you need to wear your headphones, and I'm fine with it. I just don't listen to myself, and they shut you off when you get a job. They're able to shut off the noise in the headphones,
Yeah.
whatever you say. But if you're listening, if you're doing an audition and you're listening to yourself in the headphones, that goes back to what I said about putting on a voice or trying to manufacture something, a sound. You should just go for the acting and what you're talking about. So headphones, no, when I'm auditioning, headphones, yes, when I have the job, because it's a form of communication and direction. So I have no choice. And they need to get Kirk Douglas some nice padded, it might have hurt his little ears. May you rest in peace, another brilliant actor. They should have given him a nice padded pair, but he probably found it can be, if you're claustrophobic or you just don't like anything on your ears, like I don't have pierced ears, I wouldn't like that. I don't like things on my ears, but it's part of the job. It's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, definitely, I have to ask this question, and that is memories working on the 2004 Napoleon Dynamite and working with John Hader, John Grise. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
And of course, your daughter in the movie Emily Dunn.
Oh, well, I would say, first of all, that I am so grateful that I got to be a part. Talk about cult figure or cult comedy. I would say it's probably one of the biggest cult comedies of all times. People still write me emails or make comments and know it's one of those movies that people can see 50, 100 times and quote every single word in that movie. And how I got the movie has to do with your favorite show, Lex. You probably don't know this because most people don't know this. Is actually a very interesting tie-in. Chris Wyatt, who was one of the producers of Napoleon Dynamite, interviewed me for Lex. He was a huge Lex fan, and they used to have a sci-fi magazine called Cinescape. This is when they had beautiful hardcover magazines with beautiful pictures. It was a collector's item, and I thank God I still have it. And he interviewed me for that. And then we did a pilot together. Do you remember the show Mystery Science Theater?
Of course,
Yeah.
is that the show where they're doing commentary during the movies?
Yes.
Okay.
He wanted to do one exactly. He wanted to do one like that. And it never went anywhere, but we were watching, I don't even remember the movie, this really bad D movie, and we were making comments, and we just had a great chemistry. So, fan of Lex interviewed me. He was a journalist for Cinescape. We did this pilot, this mystery theater thing, but not quite that show. Flash forward a couple years, he says, Helen, I'm producing this movie called Napoleon Dynamite. Can I send you the script? You're so funny. And I remember you. I said, okay. And I'm reading this and going, oh my, what the heck is this? This is so weird. I'm kind of intrigued. So he says, we're going to fly all the actors to Preston, Idaho. First, you're going to go to Salt Lake City, the big city, and then we pick you up and you go to Preston, Idaho. Looking at Preston, Idaho on a map, I went, hey, nobody's offering me anything. It's kind of a weird time in my career. What the hell? I'll go. So, and I remember my agent at the time, who's not my agent anymore, said, oh, this is stupid. You shouldn't do this. So I'll never forget this because I saw him at a Christmas party several years later and he looked at me very sheepishly and he went, I did a stupid thing. I said, yeah, you did. You told me not to do it. And I said, what was I doing at the time? And you know what? Meeting new people. So long story short, go off to Preston, Idaho, do this wacky movie. I'm my character, Eileen. I open the door and there stands John Heater. He did not come and introduce himself to anybody purposely. And if you really know me really well, when I opened that door and I saw John Heater with the afro hair, with the teased hair and the funny teeth, and the way he stood there, I bit my tongue. I almost broke out in laughter. Like you can see there's a little smirk if you know me, my face really well. Most people don't. They just thought I smiled at him. Well, I smiled at him because I wanted to guffaw and laugh my head off. And he is brilliant in that character because he's really not like that. And he's very funny though. And John Grease, I don't even know how to say his name. He was also a brilliant actor and his career is fascinating. I mean, he just embodied everybody was very physical how they embodied their character. John was my daughter Emily, who was a local by the way, and got married and invited me to her wedding, but I never went a couple of years ago. I really wanted to go, but I was working. It was being like in a time warp. You know, even though the movie we made it in 2004, did you say something like that?
Mhm.
The 80s moon boots, there was a kind of a weird sensibility as sort of it was like timeless. Like what time is this set in? Is it the 60s? Is it the 2000s? Is it the 1980s because of the outfits and the hair and the weird comedic sensibility? People really identify watching that movie because to be honest with you, we're all nerds. And whoever doesn't say they're a nerd is wrong, and I don't like them. They need to be nerds. Everybody's a nerd.
Ellen, I just flat out said I was a nerd when I asked that catering question.
I know. Well, that's a great question. I love nerds. Listen, everybody has been some form of nerd in their life, and I think that's why everybody identifies with Napoleon Dynamite and these crazy characters. And I am, as I said at the beginning of this question, just absolutely flabbergasted at how successful this movie is, but how grateful I am because there was no A-list movie stars in it. Everybody became known from that movie, and it was a wild, fabulous ride. One of the highlights, like LEXX, but that's from LEXX.
Yeah. And I remember one scene where I was just laughing because it just I loved how your delivery on it though in Napoleon Dynamite when your daughter is on the phone and you go like this and you go like this, sir,
Yeah, I
like
remember
you're guiding her.
the picture.
Yes.
Yeah, people come up to me and do that. They go, first time I went, what? They didn't even say Napoleon Dynamite. They went, Ellen? I went, yeah. Square? You want a picture with me? Oh, Napoleon Dynamite. That's the gesture I get. Or do you want a tater tot or sweet? You know?
It's like Napoleon, give me your tater tots. No, get your own, man. Come
Oh man, get your own.
on. Come
And
on.
you also have to know that Ephraim Ramirez, who played Pedro,
Yes.
I did a movie with him beforehand, and he reminded me, oh, this movie is, I don't even know if you even found this movie. It was called Tammy and the Teenage T-Rex. This was
Ah,
a movie. Oh, yeah, you must find this movie, everybody. It is the worst or best worst movie of all time. And it starred Denise Richards and the late, great Paul Walker and a guy named Terry Kaiser, who was a huge star in the 80s in a movie called Weekend at Bernie's,
oh, I
where he
see that.
played a dead guy. He was the dead guy, and he was my leading man. And he's talk about a lesson. It was my first movie in Los Angeles, and I play this crazy, nutty nurse. Oh, this is a wild movie. This is really wild.
I think I gotta
Anyway,
watch that.
so Ephraim had a cameo in it where he played a pizza boy that delivers pizza to our lab because we're sort of this mad scientist and we it's so crazy I'm not even going to tell you. And so he delivers the pizza and this dinosaur comes out and almost scares him and he runs off. And when I did Napoleon Dynamite, I remember going in the backyard and sitting on the swings because we shot in an actual house. And he says, Ellen, do you remember me? And I went, oh, Napoleon, I mean, it's Tammy and the T-Rex, you were the pizza boy. He goes, yes, it was my first movie. So that's the small world of film and television. Very cool. Anyway, came on, he became huge playing Pedro. Vote for Pedro was such an iconic phrase. And
Yes.
they're the two of them are all over doing conventions all over the place.
Very cool.
John and Ephraim. Yeah. Funny word. Funny world.
Uh, did you prefer playing a protagonist or antagonist in any role you did?
Antagonist.
It's always fun to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And you nailed that.
I've played a few in my times in some movies of the week, and I've played a lot in voiceover wise. And there's many kinds of villains too. They're not all I want to suck your blood. Some of them are literally like, "Oh, really? Come over here. We'll sit down." And very casual villains that are kind of more eerie in a way, as opposed to the melodramatic twirl your mustache kind of villain. There's all kinds within there, and remember, villains don't always think that they're bad guys. They
No.
think they're doing good for the world. The best villains just think they're just misunderstood. The Joker, has got that kind of. I think those are fascinating. The people that have sort of psychological issues and an interesting emotional life. Those are the characters you want to play. It
Yeah.
depends. Not that I don't like playing a mom who loves her child or the hero and saves the day, but I find for my physicality and my voice, even though in commercials I do a lot of nice, warm people, I find that it suits me better. It just comes easily. And even though I'm a sweetheart in real life and I'm a caregiver in real life, I just love it. It's just fun.
Totally agree. And you nailed that like a T on as Gigaroda.
Thank you.
Do you have any funny behind the scenes like stories while filming Lex or Napoleon Dynamite?
LEXX for sure. The outfit I wore. Can you picture what that outfit is? It's sort of like it's what it is actually, they based it. This is very, um, what's the word? Disgusting and a little bit shocking. So I'm giving you a little warning here, audience. Based on a body of an autopsy where they would stitch up the body. So if you notice, the costume has these big threads sewn through it because it's when they open up a body to know how the body died in a morgue. This was how they fashioned Jigarada's jumpsuit. So the first season, it was made out of rubber. And I had a scene where I come out of the water. And as I came out of the water, nobody thought about this. The suit started to crumble and I started to stink. Nothing worse than wet rubber. Nobody would eat lunch with me. Nobody would hang around me. And I started to go, oh, this stinks terribly. Like it was, whoa. And it started to crumble. And literally, we had more seasons after that. So that outfit you see, if you really look closely in the, I think, second or third season, you will see it's buckskin suede. It's much more form fitting. The rubber one was I was really thin when I did Jigarada, actually. Jigarada the Wicked. The first season I was at my thinnest. So Paul wanted me to be bulkier. So they added sort of big rubber shoulders, but the outfit was not flexible. So they had to cut holes in my knees so I could move, holes in my elbows, and sort of rip parts of it so I could move. But the rubber was a big mistake, and the wardrobe person was really apologetic. But the smell, I mean, people still joke about that were on that set that day. And then I ended up getting a new outfit that was much more sleek and more malleable, where I could move and be more flexible in it. So that's a big story about the costumes.
Oh.
Ah, very cool.
Cool story. And
Yeah.
I gotta ask you too, like, and I wasn't not gonna bring this up too, but I want to talk about your memories of doing the collector as Jerry Slate.
Oh, that's another one of my favorite jobs. Now, talk about there's a protagonist, and that's see, there's a case of an incredible part, and very grateful to be a part of that. And I really wish that show would come on television right now. And just in case people haven't watched it, it's about a man who collects souls for the devil.
Oh boy.
And each guest star has done a deal with the devil. And in 10 years, the devil comes to collect your soul. So let's say you become the greatest radio DJ or the greatest podcaster, or you're the best doctor and never let anybody die, or you become the biggest supermodel in the world, or you become an Olympic ice skater. There's always consequences. And I play a journalist who always suspects this guy, played by Chris Kramer, wonderful actor. And there's something off about him. And so I chase him as a reporter. But I also have a son who's autistic, who may be the son of the devil. Now, I don't know that part. Ellen knows that part. My character does not know that he's the son of the devil, maybe the son of the devil. And it's an amazing series, and I'm hoping that people can watch it. I'm very proud of my work on that show, and very intriguing show. Very well done. Larry Sugar produced that show, and I was again, very honored and grateful to be a series regular on that.
That came out in 2004, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. And another like, and you've done a lot of animation work, and one of them I'm very curious to know about because I have many fans that are friends that are big fans of Sailor Moon, and I was wondering to get your thoughts on Sailor Moon as Lori.
Okay. Oh, you brought that up. That's so funny. Well, Sailor Moon is huge. And I wasn't even doing voice acting at the time. I think I just started my career. And a friend of my husband's, a friend of the man I was dating at the time, it wasn't my husband then, said, "Hey, I'm doing this series called Sailor Moon. Do you want to do some voice work?" And I went, "All right. I don't know what it is, but sure." So that was Lori. And she was a 14-year-old Southern girl who became possessed by, speaking of devils, by a demon or a devil. And when it's a very funny story. So I
Mhm.
recorded it, never thought anything of it. And then I start to see all these people, Sailor Moon conventions and blah, 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 blah. And I get a message from a guy maybe 5 years ago saying, "Hi, I'm the biggest Sailor Moon fan in the world." I think he lived in Germany. And he said, heard that you played a character. Do you know her name?" I said, "No, but I played this 14-year-old Southern person." He says, "I think I know who it is." This is how much of a fan. I mean, I don't even know how many seasons there were, like 10, 12. But
Oh
he knew
boy.
I did the Canadian version. And he sent me a reel of it. And he sent me a bunch of reels. And actually, some of them were so distinct, they were friends of mine. So I sent them to him and said, "This is my friend blah blah. This is my friend blah blah." And he connected with them, and I was absolutely stunned that he could find this. This is how much of that's all he does is watch every episode and know every character. He's got a graph. He sent me stuff about the year, the director. It was amazing. So Sailor Moon, I'm happy to be speaking of cult, part of that cult following. That is a huge franchise.
It is, and another a huge franchise that you're absolutely part of, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Is memories of doing the 2016 Lego Star Wars: The Resistance as Captain Phasma.
Thank you, Lindsay Halper, who's the casting director at Lucas. She heard something in my natural voice, and she thought I could do Captain Phasma, who's British, but she thought I could do it. And I'm like, one of my, and I'm going to be very frank here, there are actors who are excellent at emulating, copying other actors. Like, I have friends who can do, Sean Bean or Kate Blanchett or, Tom Cruise or Nicole Kidman. They can directly act and do them, and they're doubles if they can't quite if the actual star can't make it. I suck at that. When I get it from my agent, I go, oh no. But I've now learned that I can do a few people. And one of them is Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma. So when I did it, I at the time, well, Lego Star Wars, they did not have a sample of her in the Star Wars movie. So we went off an interview she did for Craig Ferguson, and the sound engineer for the movie Star Wars was one of the engineers doing this stuff. So he said, I went up to him and I said, listen, you've heard the real person. Am I in the ballpark? He said, you are dead on.
Wow.
You are actually right on. Because just because you're doing an interview, my voice in this is not going to be the same in a voiceover. I'm not Captain Phasma right now. So I wanted to make sure I had her tone, especially when I did Star Wars Resistance, because she had done season 1. I joined in season 2 because she was so busy. So that, even Lego Star Wars, pretty close. Star Wars Resistance had to be even more close because we had that body of work beforehand from her. And I was a huge fan of hers. I mean, the woman's taller than me. She's 6'3". So I'm 5'10". She's 6'3". So it's anyway, but she's, that performance in Game of Thrones as Brianna Tarth is brilliant. I mean, that whole show was brilliant. So again, to be part of the Star Wars, here's that word again, franchise, is a goal of any actor. I'm just, again.
Because it's a huge brand, right?
Yeah, it's a huge brand. And I will always have the Star Wars brand, the Lego Star Wars and Lego. The combination is such a great combo platter, as I say. So
Another popular franchise you were part of, and I'm a huge fan of this franchise, and that is the Fallout series. And I was curious to know, like, your thoughts on shooting the Fallout 4 game and playing Alana Secord and Ali Fillmore.
Fallout 4 is an astounding franchise as well. You're right. I'm thinking about all these franchises. Chris Failla directed me. And the challenge for me with that was I played 2 characters that were scientists. So one wasn't a scientist and one wasn't an orc. I'm making it up. They were very similar in that they had a lot of scientific jargon. And I said to Chris, what am I going to do here? And because the pictures, if you look at their pictures, they both have short cropped hair. They're kind of similar. One is a little bit more craggy. So I made one older, one younger. And the big challenge was this one. Said I had to talk to myself in the same scene. Scientist Ali Fillmore talked to Alana Secord in the same scene. I had a scene with myself. I said, are you kidding? They're not even distanced in the game where people will forget. My challenge was to make them different enough, but still real, because there was a lot of, at this institute, we do this and this, very cinematic, very direct, how I'm talking to you now. How am I going to make them different enough so people will think they're listening to a different voice, but still maintain that scientific demeanor in a conversational fashion, which is what the challenge was there. And we made one kind of more been around the block, tired, and yeah, Joe, yeah, man, I've seen that. And the other one was like, wow, this is the first time I've seen this. And that the intention changed how the characters were. And Fallout 4, when I do sci-fi conventions, it's a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another big hit too is another one is the Elder Scrolls series, and you've done a lot of voices for that one too. Memories of doing that and doing Adisla and Brilas.
I can't keep track of how many, and I actually just emailed one of the producers because I've got one coming out again. The beauty of these popular games is they have downloadable content, DLC,
Yes.
which I didn't understand, but now I get it. So if something's successful, Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls DLC, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, Elder Scrolls blah, blah, blah. So I think I've done maybe 5 or 6 versions of Elder Scrolls Blackwood, Deadlands, and Damnation. Yeah, that's the one I just did. And I just love it because it's non-stop challenges. You don't know what's going on until you get in the room.
True.
Oh, I love that, and I love Skyrim. I mean, Skyrim is the most popular probably out of all of them, and I played like 80 characters in Skyrim. I had no clue. I mean, I can't even keep track. I look at the IMDb and I can't even remember what they were about, but the fans are very, very specific and they remember. So I've done some wonderful AAA games with wonderful directors, and very grateful for Bethesda and ArenaNet and Blizzard and some of the major companies. Yeah.
That's I see. And of course, another one I wanted to bring up too. Of course, your time on the Dead Zone as Callie Fallon.
Oh, Dead Zone. There's another interesting thing because that was I forgot about that. A major movie with the wonderful Christopher Walken, I think, and big fan of his. Yeah, that was God, I love doing that. It just was right during the collector. I had a hiatus and they wanted to work with me, and we finally found some time to do it. And Chris Kramer, the leading man of the collector, also did a guest star either in that episode or right close to it. So it was kind of neat that both of us were in this same episode or close to it. I have to look that up, but I enjoyed that a lot because it was a big, here we go again with the word of the day, franchise. And I just really enjoyed playing a harassed, harried mother. That was sort of, and in the collector, I also played a harried mother who had a career, but this one was a single mom and the kid had powers. So there's sort of some parallels, and I think that's why the Dead Zone hired me, because the collector, my kid, had some interesting supernatural things happening to him too. So yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Very cool.
And with any role you have done, and you've done many, did you have any role where you were allowed creative input, or like you were allowed to improvise? Like you didn't have to necessarily read from the script, but you can actually touch up on this, but in bullet points.
Well, I would say we'll start with the show you like so much, Lex. I started to be able to go off script a bit, and that character I created from scratch. I mean, all they said it was an aggressive cannibal, so I was able to add my humor and the fact that I was a ballet dancer at the time. I completely went anti-ballet because she was clumsy. I walked clumsy. I walked loud. There was no grace. So I created her movements. I created the voice. I created the physicality. I worked with makeup and hair. I wanted that sort of linus kind of mane, that because I was taking scalps from people I ate. So I wanted to have a lot of hair. I have a lot of hair anyway, but I added even more, like you. We're sharing hair.
Where's Chair?
She has great hair. I love it.
We're here, twinsies.
Hair today, not gone tomorrow, right, Petey? We're keeping our hair. So I had a lot of creative input with that. And listen, a good actor, sometimes you can't improvise. Like in video games, you don't improvise a lot, but you bring your heart and soul to it, which is a form of expression, and how you tackle that part, how you yourself tackle that part and bring your creativity is part of the journey of an actor. So Napoleon Dynamite, right on script, exactly as written. Video games usually exactly as written. Animation, auditions, usually you can go crazy and go off script, but they've created their worlds, they've created their scripts. You want to honor that. I did a couple of interesting movies for a producer here in Toronto, and he did a lot of improvisation. Like I did this crazy movie called Sicilian Vampire with Armand Asante, and there was a lot of ad-libbing in that. And then I did another movie with James Caan, who was in that too. There was a lot of ad-libbing going on, and Paul Sorvino. There was a lot of guys that just passed away that were in these movies. So it was interesting to watch these masters, talk about icons, at work, and there was a lot of ad-libbing going on to get into the scene. So it depends on the project. It truly does.
Did you want to talk more about Sicilian Vampire?
Yeah, I just loved watching um, Armand Asante and James Caan and Paul Sorvino work. And there was a scene where Paul Sorvino has this guy come to him and ask for something. I don't remember the exact things, but Paul has to get really pissed, really angry. And the director said something like, Paul, pretend. And Paul said, I don't need any notes. Really quietly, I don't need any notes. Let me do my thing. So the guy comes in and does the scene with him, and he's talking really quietly. Yeah, okay, sure. Very like he's having a tea party, and then all of a sudden he gets up and he slams his fist on the table. And I was sitting there in the boardroom because we had a scene right after, and I just watched this magnificent actor scare the pants off him. You think Jiggerata? This guy was like, oh yes, let's have tea, let's have fun. And all of a sudden he stood up, and he's a big tall guy, and he has a presence. And I just looked at him and I went, whoa, there's a pro. And the director said, I'm so sorry I gave you that note. You didn't need the note, because he wanted him to get ferocious. And Paul said, don't worry about it. Don't you worry. I'll be fine. Don't you worry about it. And just watching these masters and listening, I was so happy just to listen to the stories of the Godfather. And I mean, come on. These are James Caan. I mean, honestly, I was just sitting there in awe. Like, holy moly. I just sat there and I said, I'm sorry I'm staring at you. Like I'm really, we all have our, you know, it's fun when you're appreciated, but we all have our people that we're like, like,
I see what you mean.
yeah, everybody should be tongue twisted by some people, whoever. It could be a political figure, it could be somebody interesting that you care about. But anyway, those were fascinating experiences just to work with those people who are the creme de la creme, as they say.
Cream of the crop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, I have a couple of more questions before we conclude, though, and one of them is, did you have a favorite line from any character you portrayed?
Jiggerata dines again is one, and you're going to the dance with that boy, Napoleon. And what's the other one? What's this? I'm not as warm and cuddly as you think. That's Captain Phasma in Lego Star Wars. That's my favorite. I'm not as warm and cuddly as you think. Yeah, I like that one. That was fun. Those are some of the ones off the top of my head.
For me, my one will always be, and I said it earlier today, was when you said "I can see you," because it just comes off so intimidating. It's like you're smiling, which makes it even more intimidating.
That's right. It was
It's
like
like,
a game. It's like hide and seek. Remember the game we played when we
yep,
were
oh
kids?
yeah.
I can see you. I'm gonna eat you.
Oh,
There's
you scared me.
menacing. Yeah, yeah. I remember that too. That was very cool. Yeah.
Oh man, and of course, you were in the World of Warcraft, right?
World of Warcraft. Yep.
Remember
Yep.
shooting that franchise? There's that big word again, franchise.
Yep. Franchise. That was very well, one of the best directors I've ever worked with in video games, Andrea Toyas, who is an actor's director. She's so specific about the life and the world you're in, and just loves actors. It was an extremely difficult part vocally for me because it was all down there, very gruff. You can listen to it. It is very an orc, very low voiced. When you have a low voice as a female, you tend to get voices in video games that are low, gruff, rough, raspy. So this one was a throat ripper, as I called it. And for a couple days after that, I really had to rest my voice because I go to town when I die in there, because man, but it was fun. I like these kind of crazy, demonic, crazy characters. And this was a drama. This was not comedy like LEXX. So this was really, really
Dark.
scary. This was really scary in a good way, for the audience. Very scary. And it's funny, we just did about 2 weeks ago a Streamily event, which I just started to get the hang of. It Streamily is a worldwide event where you sign autographs online, like
Virtual signing, right?
yeah, yeah. And it was really fun. It's called Streamily, and I got to meet people who did other parts of World of Warcraft that had much bigger parts than me, who've been doing it for years. So it's such an iconic video game.
It is. It's actually in the top three most memorable games in history.
And I can see why. It's just so incredibly well well written and beautiful worlds. The worlds are incredible.
It is. And now, of course, before we conclude, Miss Dubin, though, this is a part where this is where I'm going to ask you what's next for Ellen Dubin. This is the part, of course, where my show is an open forum. This is my time where I will pass you the proverbial microphone
Oh, thank you.
before.
Let me have it.
Here you go,
I got it.
and the microphone is yours, Miss Dubin.
Wow. Well, first of all, I have to tell you that this is one of the best interviews I've ever done because the questions were so heartfelt and you obviously really watch my stuff. So I want to thank you for that. That's really important that I tell you that. And I'm so glad that we got to stick this together because lives have been so crazy, as you know. Um, in terms of what's out there, well, I'm very proud to be part of the Dune franchise. Dune won many Oscars and best sound, and I play the Bene Gesserit ancestors. So I'm some of the voices you hear in Timothy Chalamet's head. So that's out right now all over the place. It's on, I think, Amazon Prime. So I'm very proud to be part of one of the biggest movies ever made. Um, and as you know, they're making Dune Part 2 right now. And I have an interesting voiceover in a movie called The Desperate Hour, which is out right now on Amazon or Hulu or no, maybe Netflix. Naomi Watts, lovely, fabulous Naomi Watts, the actress. I play the hostage negotiator. So you'll hear me in the last Sergeant Brett 10 minutes. All the parts are on the phone. It's her trying. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about because I don't want to ruin the surprise. But so that's a great voiceover part you'll hear me in. And I'm also playing a bunch of different voices in the incredible Pixar movie Turning Red, which is a huge animation movie that's winning a lot of awards and accolades. And trying to think, it's mostly been voiceover stuff. I'm recurring on a show called Eleanor Wonders Why as Farmer Bear. If anybody has little kids, it's on PBS Kids. That's my kids stuff. It's nice to do kids. And I have a show coming out on Netflix called Daniel Spellbound, which is a combination of Raiders of the Lost Ark and what did they say? I forget what the other movie is. And it's a really dark animation show. And I played this really screwed up. I can't tell you what I played. Anyway, moving on. And but it's really interesting. And then I've got a couple of shows on Netflix that are, you've heard of dubbing where it was made in
Yes.
another language. So I've got this great show called The Bonfire of Destiny, fantastic period French piece, where I have 8 episodes and all 8 episodes of that. And then something called looking at my IMDb because I can't remember. Something called Crimes or something. It was an Argentinian movie, which is I'm the lead in that, and that's really well worth watching too. It's fascinating. So I've been focusing the crimes that bind. I wanted to look that up for you. I've been focusing mostly on voice work right now. During COVID, during the pandemic, a lot of studios and on-camera stuff closed down. So voice work, as you can see in my little apartment here, I have this little studio here, became the thing. There was more work in voiceover. I mean, I did Dune in here. I did all those movies in here because on camera kind of got put on hold. So right now, the on camera, we will see what happens next. I think maybe I'll go back to auditioning in the fall. I'm still want to make sure that the world is safe to go back and productions are starting again. So you can listen for me. And ellendubin.com, you can read stuff about me and know what's coming up. I unfortunately didn't make it to San Diego Comic-Con this year, which was my big regret. But I still was worried about the spread of COVID, and unfortunately, some of my friends got it from being there. Not being in San Diego, but just with the crowds. So you're going to be doing more listening than watching right now. And I'm very good at responding to emails. So on my IMDb or on my website, you'll see an email. And if you're a fan, and you want to ask a question, I respond to every question. So it's and I'm not making it up. You can ask everybody that I'm happy to hear from you. And
Thank
that's
you, man.
basically the bottom line right now. You know, life has been very interesting for everybody, and I think it's on a note that has nothing to do with acting. I think it's more important than ever to keep in touch with your loved ones and your friends more than ever right now, because everybody needs the connection, and that's what we do as actors. But if you don't have the connection as a human being right now, you're not worth your weight in gold in anything right now. You've got to connect with your friends and your family. I think it's important.
Agree with you. And before we conclude, though, let me say that you are not only one of the best of all time, though. Like like you are the GOAT. And I'm not talking about the animal. I'm talking about greatest of all times. Like I've always said, like you can take a fan who is 32 years old and after watching it, make them feel down here like they're six again. And you have that kind of power. I know you know, like, and I know like Lex is all fiction and like all these powers are like fantasy, but you do have one incredible gift, Miss Dubin, and that is the ability to make an adult fan feel like a young fan after watching them. You make the person feel like watching you as Gigarota made me feel as a viewer. Watching you as in Napoleon Dynamite made me feel. Watching you as Jerry Slate made me feel like it's like you're not even reading a script. It feels all natural, and that's what it's a rare breed to find like actresses like yourself though, and that's why I always think of yourself not only as one of the greatest of all time, but if there was ever a Hall of Fame, put Ellen Dubin in the Hall of Fame because this
Oh
is
my,
one of the
my.
best.
Listen, I'm hiding under my t-shirt now because I'm as red as a tomato, but you can't see it because there's a black. Oh, you are unbelievable. That is so, so kind of you. I really appreciate that. I've never been told that. And I have to remember this again. Phil Hartman, Sigourney, and who was the other one?
Linda Hamilton.
Oh,
And you know what? I'm actually gonna throw shades of Tim Curry because the way you do the comedic villain styles is very much Tim Curry
oh
like.
my God. You know, one of my first commercials was a spoof of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Really?
We did a lottery commercial always, and it was we did the time warp, and Tim Curry is one of the best actors.
Yes.
I think he's brilliant. I'm going to take that, and now I'm going to watch a Tim Curry movie. Wow, I have to write this down. So just a sec. Tim Curry.
You could throw Robert Stack in there too because your narration voice is very much like Robert Stack in Unsolved Mystery.
Robert Stack. Robert Stack. Okay, Sigourney. Oh, Phil Hartman.
Oh, I'm on a roll with this. I'm gonna say even too, doing this interview with you is like performing karaoke with Elton John. He's
Ha!
my favorite singer.
One of my favorites. Which is your favorite song?
Oh, I have like 30 of them, but I'll tell you my top five. Tiny Dancer, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Rocket Man, I'm Still Standing, and Philadelphia Freedom.
Oh, okay. And I have to add, this is your song. I have to.
Love that song.
It's just when I'm in a mood. But all of those, fantastic. Have you seen them in concert? I haven't.
Yeah, actually, my fiance got me tickets. We actually saw him in Madison Square Garden. First time ever. I felt I didn't have not have a voice like the other day. I screamed so loud. I was singing. I was.
Was he amazing?
Oh, he
You're
was. I was
oh,
melting. I was.
he's. So you live in, where do you live?
I live in New York, but I'm actually moving to Florida, like in next year or two.
Which part of New York?
Brooklyn, heart of Coney Island.
Oh, you got a little Brooklyn there. I love it. Oh, I love it. And then you're going to move to which part of Florida? Talk about it.
Near Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Okay.
And of course, I'm sorry about that. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say you can do these interviews everywhere.
Oh man, like first of all, I waited a long time to tell
I
you
know,
this,
I know, I know.
Like,
My life has been crazy. Yeah.
and I'll tell you the premise of my shows. My premise of the show was always as my way of saying thank you for those memories you gave me. Like anyone that comes on my show, it is I wanted to make it a point that I wanted to thank them for those memories they gave me watching them as a child or growing up, and that's why I asked you to come on the show because I've been a fan of your work since I was a 6-year-old boy watching LEXX.
Unbelievable. And plus the fact that was what, 26 years ago about that. Wow, amazing. You have warmed my heart today after a very long, stressful day. This is an absolute pleasure, and I'm just so I'm stunned at how much you know. That's
And
amazing.
and of course, I definitely want to conclude. I'm gonna send you a copy of this interview when I'm done editing because I'm gonna edit it tonight. Won't take me long. I'll actually have this up within like 2 hours. But I want to conclude by saying thank you for not only this amazing interview, a very amazing interview. Like I feel like that little boy again. I feel like that's
I
you
feel like
again.
a little girl. There you go.
and
We're excited.
and of course, I gotta give you something that you deserve, and that is thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Ellen. And of course, thank you so much. And you have an amazing night. I will get right on the editing right now, like as soon as this is done.
This is fantastic. Loved it so much. You are amazing.
You are, and the most charismatic one too.
You take care and thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
Thank you, and have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.